What is up, everybody? It is Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Fairway to Heaven, only on DSM Media. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Phil Stiefel. This is Jason Sullivan. And all I got to say is, wow. The first season of Fairway to Heaven started in the November Masters, and we've run almost a complete year here. The first season of Fairway to Heaven, we're wrapping it up tonight. We're going to take a couple months off. We're going to do some fantasy football shows. We'll drop the new fantasy football show name at the end of the show. But Tuesday nights, this is I'm kind of tearing up just saying that season one of Fairway to Heaven is over, Jason.
Dude, our friendship has come so far over the past year.
I thought you were going to say our friendship is over.
We went from barely knowing each other to we went on vacation together during the season. It's all come together. It's been a good season.
Dude, this has been a blast. If you would have asked me 15, 16 months ago when I just started the podcasting and writing of anything, if I would have done a full season of golf, fantasy, and gambling shows, I would have called you crazy because I just like to do it for fun. And now this has turned into like some pretty awesome stuff. We've had so many great guests. Detroit, Dave. I'm going to forget some. Rob, Brian, Hunter. Who else am I missing here? The coach, Jonathan Coachman.
We've had Sean. Yeah, we had a lot.
Yeah,
we had some good ones.
I knew I'd forget somebody.
Yeah, it's been so
we had
much
the
fun.
rapper, but he didn't show up.
It's been so much fun. Like you said too. I used to listen to all the podcasts, for probably the past 5 years, and never even thought I would be doing a golf podcast. Football, yes, maybe, but not golf. So it's been so much fun.
But don't worry, we'll be back in January when season 2 starts. What's up? Thanks for checking in. We learned from the best, like you and Detroit Dave and Brian. We've learned from you guys, so we love all the support. I mean, the golf fantasy community and the gambling community on social media. I mean, it's a tough group to crack into, and I'm very happy that and appreciative of everybody letting us in and helping us and guiding us, being guests on our show. PJ Tout, Chad, I knew I'm missing some other guests there, they're just rolling into my head as we go here.
Yeah, it's been a blast. And like you said, this community is so cool. We're just breaking in. We're still at the nobody level, but it's been so much fun and the community is so cool and everybody wants to help each other, which is really cool. And it's like you see somebody win, whether it's a bet or a DFS lineup or whatever it is, and you see them. Everybody's so excited for each other, and that's what's cool about this community. It's not like football where everybody plays. It's kind of a tighter community, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's like a niche sport. I mean, it's a great sport. It's a great game to play. Not enough people do it, but it's been fantastic, and it's a great place for me to get out here and talk about my love for Team Bryson. It just came this close last week, but let me tell you,
I just have one word.
Yeah, that's not even a word. That's a sound. I've heard babies make better sounds than that. Look. Everybody was upset that Bryson DeChambeau lost in the playoffs. I jumped on the 35-1 like everybody else. But on the flip side of the equation, I wasn't upset because I had Patrick Cantlay as my second pick at 25-1. So, I mean, I don't think you could pick a better 1-2 punch than Cantlay and Bryson to win last week at Cave Hollow or Cave Hill, whatever it was called.
It worked out for me, too. I mean, you had the bets. I didn't have the bets on either one of them. But it worked out for me in DFS because, stupidly, I faded Bryson, but I had a lot of Cantlay last week. I played 10 lineups, and I think I had Cantlay in 6 or 7. So it worked out for my DFS week. But yeah, it was something down the stretch. And obviously, the big thing that everybody's talking about is what happened on 14 with the comment, Patrick, can you stop walking? So I wanted to get your thoughts. I know we talked about it.
If that was any other golfer saying that, it wouldn't have been a big deal. Or if that was Patrick saying that to Bryson, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But because everybody's got this hatred for my boy Bryson, it's a big deal.
Do you think any other golfer would have said that though? That's I don't know. I'm kind of playing devil's advocate. Patrick Reed probably would have said it. That's a good point.
My second favorite golfer.
That's a good point. You bring up an interesting point. I guess for me, it's my question is still how far away was Cantlay when Bryson said that to him? Was he 10 feet behind him? Was he 30 feet on the side of him? You couldn't see Cantlay in the picture, so you don't really know where Cantlay was. But I don't know, it kind of got blown out of proportion. And I agree it was because of Bryson, but I just feel like Bryson kind of finds a way to or should I say this stuff finds Bryson for a reason. Mm-hmm. I feel like he's very susceptible to getting pissed off, to the fans getting under his skin and things like that. So I feel like he puts himself out there a lot, which makes him an easy target. But at the same time, I don't know. I kind of went back and forth on that. I'm not anti-Bryson, but I didn't like that incident.
I understand why there's the hatred for him. I understand why he is the way he is. I just think he's misunderstood, maybe is the term I'm looking for. But let's jump into this week. This week's a little different. You know, the Tour Championship, top 30 guys. They're in Atlanta, Georgia for East Lake Golf Club. And it's a staggered format. They started, like 3 or 4 years ago, I think, with this format, where they rank you. They start you at 10 under if you're first in the points list, 8 under, 7 under, and so on and so on. So you get somewhat of an advantage this week being the number one in the FedEx Cup. 15 million to first place. I mean, that's huge. Do you like the staggered format compared to the way it used to be, or do you think there should be another way that it's done?
I understand why they do it. 100%. You want to see the guy who wins this tournament win the FedEx Cup. I get why they do it. We were kind of talking off the air a little bit before this. I don't know. Like a few years back when Xander, this is right when I first got into DFS, when Xander won this tournament but didn't win the FedEx Cup. I think JT won the FedEx Cup that year. So I understand why they do it. It makes sense in theory. I just feel like, I don't know, it's kind of weird. And especially you brought up a really good point before the show. Why not flip-flop this week at Eastlake with last week, which was a birdie fest? So if a guy is 6 or 7 shots behind, he's got a chance to catch up, whereas this week it's going to be really tough for them to catch up. I thought that was a really good point that you brought up. I don't know.
I forget. That wasn't my point. I read that from the golf community. I forget who I read that off of their page of. But it's definitely a different thing. I just think that they're on the right track because you don't want the Xander winning the tournament, but Justin Thomas winning the FedEx. Yeah. It takes all the excitement out of the tournament. But on the flip side, I think this is on the right track. They just need to tweak it a little bit more. That's all. Because Patrick Cantlay, at 10, starting this week at 10 under. Is that really an advantage for a guy that it's this course, East Lake Golf Club? It's not a birdie fest. It's a tough course. 10 under is approximately, in my opinion, where the winning score is going to lie. So is Patrick Cantlay a guy that can go 10 under at a course like this? Probably not. I don't know. I think they're on the right course or the right path. Like I said, make this a birdie fest, maybe stagger the staggered format a little bit more. But on the flip side of the equation, the staggered format is absolutely dog trash for betting and daily fantasy golf because this week's just, I don't know. I play 20-some lineups a week. I make 10, 12, 15 bets a week. Dude, I got nothing bet and nothing placed yet because I have no idea what I'm going to do this week yet.
Well, and we were kind of talking about this off the air too, is I think the worst part about the whole system is that the beginning 9 months or 10 months or whatever, how long it is in the season, don't really mean all that much. As long as you qualify to get yourself in the top, 125, you're the top 70 and the top 30, you're good as long as you win one of these events, which I don't really like because we were talking about this earlier that John Rahm in the past 3 months, I think the worst he's finished in a tournament outside of his COVID withdrawal is 9th. So he has dominated. He's been the best golfer on tour this year by far. And he still has to come out. He still has a lot of work to do if he wants to win the Tour Championship, which is kind of crappy.
He's starting, 4 back? Yeah, he's starting 4 back already. So maybe the point system itself needs to be altered, how you accrue points throughout the season. There's got to be something about that. But anyway, East Lake, 7,300 yards to par 70. Got some, shorter par 4s, some longer par 5s. It's a decent course. Again, like I said, it's no birdie fest at all. I do love that the 18th hole, especially in a format like this, is a par 5. Because if you're a shot or 2 back on Sunday and you're standing there on the 18th tee box, you're gonna have to go for it. It's longer. It's almost 600 yards. But you're gonna have to try to grip it and rip it and get there in 2. And some fireworks can happen on that 18th hole. I think that itself is pretty good. What are your thoughts on this course as a whole?
That's a good point about 18. Plus, it's a par 5. So we saw last week them play 18. How many times did they play it? 5 times? I mean, being a par 5, you could take more chances, which I like. I like that too. This week is definitely a weird week because there's only 30 people in the field. But I think this week more than any other week in the entire year, course history comes into play because guys that play well here, you're only playing 30 guys. So if you qualify to play here, you're obviously playing one of the more talented fields. It's a small field. And you want guys that have consistently played well here in your lineup. And I think I'm really going to weigh course history a lot this week. And I want guys that have consistently played here and played well here. in my lineups.
So another thing to take a look at, and it's something that I looked up and, we looked at, before the show and earlier this week, is how it worked out last year. So last year, Dustin Johnson was leading coming into it. He was 10. So they gave him that staggered start. He started 10 under, and he won the event, as expected. But if you look at it, Justin Thomas, who was third, finished in second. John Rahm, who was in fourth place or second place, finished in fourth place. So a lot of the guys at the top finished, but there were two big movers. Xander Schauffele, who was at -3 to start, which -3 puts you in 14th place, and he shot 15 under, and got all the way up to third. And Scotty Scheffler was at -2, which -2 puts you in 20th place, and he got into the top 5. So there is an opportunity for people to move, and I think you do have to weigh that when you're building lineups. Those guys at the bottom of the 30, if they're birdie makers or consistently can go low, maybe you look at them in building a lineup, but you really got to be precise with that, because if your guy finishes in 30th place, that's not going to really help you this week. And so I think there are some interesting things to look at there.
Yeah, there's a lot, like you brought up. It's like, how much do you want to weigh finishing position, and how much do you want to weigh just guys that can score? It's like, part of me wants to, obviously you have to somewhat put finishing position in your process this week, but part of me just wants to put together the best lineup I can put together of guys that I think that can score, like guys like Xander and Brooks, and that are a little bit lower priced that you think can put up a ton of points this week. So I kind of have gone back and forth a little bit on how I want to do it this week. But then on the flip side of that, he's 13,000, but how do you argue against playing Jon Rahm? Like we said, he's been the best golfer in the world by far.
Skewed and different. Yeah. You got guys in the 13,000. Their lowest score for EVR is 5,000, which is never below 6,000. So those prices are just as different as this event is compared to the rest of the tour, which is, it's just crazy. I don't know why they did that. That kind of, I don't know, kind of confuses me a little bit.
Yeah, no, I get why they did. It's because of the staggered scoring. But I understand what you're saying. It almost like washes each other out, because you have guys in the 5Ks, and then you have guys all the way up to 13. It almost like cancels each other out.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so I mean, it's different. We don't have to go tier by tier. I do have the DraftKings thing up here on my screen here, so we can look at it. We're still going to build competing lineups. Me and Jason are definitely going to go head to head. We'll build them on the show next. But let's just take a look. And why don't you give me 2 to start? Your 2 favorite guys that you're looking at this week, and why? And then I'll give you my top 2, and then we'll pick a couple other out that we really like.
Okay. So I'm not going to say Rahm. Rahm's the best player in the field. It's just a matter
of you
have
a bet outright on Rahm, right?
I do, yeah.
And just so people know, you can bet outright with the starting scores, the staggered scores, in effect, and you can also bet with that not taking just who has the lowest 4-round total this week. So on at least on DraftKings, you can make both bets, and I like that, because I might take Jon Rahm and bet both sides of the equation there, because Jon Rahm could win this event, but he's probably going to have the best score this week. Does he beat out Bryson or Patrick Cantlay, who's ahead of him? Right. That's the question mark. So you could almost like double dip there, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So part of my thinking with putting the bet on Rahm too is that I might not play him in DFS. So I kind of, cross that name off, because it's a guy that I definitely want exposure to. But my favorite plays of the week are probably Sungjae Im at 7,300. I just feel like his game, it's gone back to the way it used to be. He's a great iron player. It was kind of lacking for a while over the summer and the spring and the summer, really, to be honest with you. And it's kind of coming back to him. He played really well last week. He kind of got overshadowed because of the whole playoff thing, but he finished third last week, and he was T16 the week before that. So I love him. I think it's a guy that can way outscore his number. The other one is Brooks Koepka. I feel like at 7,800, he's a guy that could come out and like you said, he could shoot the lowest score of the week easily this week. He likes tough fields. I was
just saying, this is like a major, right?
Yeah. So he's going to get up for it. He hasn't been playing the best, but he's one of those guys that really doesn't matter. I mean, he's first in opportunities gained, which, like we said, there's not going to be a boatload of birdies this week, but we want guys that set themselves up for birdie. So he's first in opportunities gained, 4th in par 4 scoring from 400 to 450, and he has good course history here. 2 of his 3 trips here were top 6s. So he obviously likes the course. I think he fits the course really well, and I like him as a scorer this week for sure.
Okay. All right. So I'm looking a little different. I've got a couple. We're gonna go back and forth on a couple names here. But I'm just like you. I'm big on Rahm. I think he wins the event. So I'm looking at 2 different ends of the equation. I'm looking at people that I think could contend and maybe make a charge to overtake Cantlay in first place. And that's somebody who I like that's played really well this year. I think he's really come into his own. And when we get into our look ahead to 2022, he's a name I'm going to bring up. It's Cam Smith, and he's at -5. He's in 5th place right to start. He's a guy that can go low. He's a guy that could easily, on a course like this, go 10 under, which puts him at 15 under overall, which – I mean, will that win? Maybe, maybe not. But he could definitely jump from 5th place to 2nd or 3rd place, in my opinion, on this course and in that staggered format. And another guy that I think is my sleeper for 2022 going forward, and I've made fun of you for your love of him. But on the flip side, the last 3 or 4 weeks, he's really impressed me, and that's EVR, Eric Van Ruin. He's at the very bottom. He's at 27th place. He's the cheapest guy on DraftKings at $5K. But this is a guy that can – he's a birdie guy. We've never seen him succeed in these tougher fields. But on the flip side of the equation, there's no cuts. He knows coming into this, if he even wants to move up 10 spots, he's going to have to go out there and shoot 12 under. And I'd love to see him confidence-wise. And at that 5K range, and you can go ahead and pivot and pick a John Rahm or a Bryson DeChambeau in your lineup to be able to afford them.
Well, and EVR, too, this is probably the best he's ever played in his entire career. Absolutely. I mean, put together, he's playing in tough fields. He's playing really well. Like you said, he's scoring a lot, too. So,
real quick, just the guys that made this tournament, the final 30, like a guy like EVR, he is now guaranteed in every single event in 2022. He can pick and choose. He doesn't have to play the Barracuda Open to earn a step into the next. He is literally it means so much for players' careers to make this final 30 because you're pretty much set for next year. You make your own schedule. I think that's a big deal.
I didn't know about EVR? I did not know that EVR was 31 years old. So I
did not know that either.
He's new to the tour, but he's 31 years old. Wow. I heard that the other day during the broadcast. I never knew that.
Did not know that either. So they're my top 2 guys that I'm looking at building lineups around, Cam Smith and EVR, because they're 2 ends of the equation, a guy that could win and a guy that could just go from 27th. If he can get up to 15th, I think he pays off his value.
So EVR is coming in at 20% ownership, and Cam Smith is coming in at 17. So pretty reasonable for both those guys.
Yeah, and ownership percentages are totally different. Only 30 guys. Yeah. You're going to have a lot of guys with really high ownership this week. You're going to have guys in the 30. I mean, I know you said John Rahm's like right around 37. I wouldn't be surprised if John Rahm hits 40% this week.
No, I wouldn't either. Actually, I think I tweeted you the other day that just as a joke, but I was like, what is he going to be 90% owned this week? I mean, he's by far the best play, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly. All right. So give me 1 or 2 more that you really like.
I really like Sam Burns, honestly. He's been playing really, really good golf the past few weeks. I mean,
finally hit a first-round leader. It had to get split 3 ways because 3 people were tied, but I hit my first-round leader with him.
What's the opposite of your dead to me team? Your forever heroes or whatever?
Yeah, my hero team, my I don't know, my madly in love with team.
So, but he's been so good. I mean, T2, T21, and 8th in the past 3 weeks. He's 2nd in par 4 scoring from 400 to 450. I just feel like it's not going to be a super birdie fest, but I feel like he's just playing such good golf right now. He's putting well. His all-around game is there. So 8,500.
It's not going to be a birdie fest, but birdies are important in non-birdie fest, and he's great in that. And I mean, I don't know how his putting stats have been all season, but in his last 4 or 5 events, he's top 10 in putting, and I think those 2 things there are really going to help him. I love Sam Burns a lot this week too. Yeah,
I like Sam Burns a lot. The other one is Kevin Na. He used to be on my dead to me list for a long time because he was a withdrawal candidate all the time. But at 6,000 and at 12% ownership, I like Kevin Na a lot this week. I like the way he's playing. Obviously, he's not a bomber, but his around the green game is amazing, and that kind of makes up for everything else. He's also a really good par 4 scorer. So I like Kevin Na as kind of a lower end sleeper this week.
Okay. So I got 3 more names. You gave me 2. I'm going to give you 3. One, I don't have to explain why. Bryson DeChambeau, he's my boy. He's only 3 shots back. It's not a bomber's course, but for as much of a bomber as Bryson is, his putting is still really good. He still is really good off the tee. Yes, his short game in that 100 to 75 yards or that 65 yards, it's atrocious. And his around the green is atrocious. But everything else about his game, in my opinion, is fantastic. In the last, 3-4 events, he's number 1 in birdies or better. So if anybody's going to have a chance to overtake the leader, he's obviously the guy that can go the lowest and that can put up the most birdies. So obviously I love Bryson. He's my number one golfer on tour. So wait till we project 2022. Well, just wait. The other two names I like, a guy that has crushed me a lot when I've played him this year, but on the flip side is playing really good golf the last 2 or 3 events. Viktor Hovland. I don't know what your thoughts are on him, but at 3 under, yeah, can he make up a 7-shot difference? I don't know, but he's definitely someone that I think that can get into the top 5 for sure, like Cam Smith.
Yeah, no, I like that call a lot too. I think I'm going to look at his ownership, but I think his ownership was not as high as I thought it was going to be either. So, yeah, I like that. I think that's a good call this week.
He's only 8,000, so I think that's a good mid-level price. You start a lineup with EVR at the very bottom. You go to the top with Rahm or Bryson, and then you pick Hovland in the middle. I think that's a really smart little way to balance it out, and then you go from there. And I got one other guy. I mean, he hasn't really played much in the playoffs because he took the first week of it off. But a guy that loves tough courses, he loves tough fields, and we know it's Brian Kay's favorite golfer in the world, Louis Oosthuizen. 3 under, he's in 14th place. These kind of tough courses, I would have said Patrick Reed, but Patrick Reed hasn't played. He's been sick. I can't go that way. So a good pivot off of Patrick Reed, similar style player on these kind of courses, Louis Oosthuizen at 7,600. I don't know what your thoughts are on him.
I love that play, definitely. Yeah. He's kind of seems like he's a little bit forgotten for a guy that's been as good as he has been this year. No one's talking about him at all. And
well, we'll just jump for a second. We're going to close this show with our recap of 2021 and a look ahead to 2022. In my opinion, one of the brightest spots of 2021 has been Louis Oosthuizen's revival of his career. I mean, not that his career fell off like Ricky Fowler or Jordan Spieth, but he's a former major winner that nobody ever talks about. And he's finished top 5 how many times this year? I mean, it's insane for a 38-year-old. So I love Louis. I think Louis is a good play this week.
You want to build some lineups?
Yeah, let's build a lineup here. So let's go. We've done it. I finally took down one of the team competitions.
I was going to say.
Yeah, I wasn't going to rub it in, but I'll say I did beat you and Hunter and took it down. I'm very happy about that. Made my week. Too. I could have sacrificed all my wins last week as long as I kept that first place finish amongst you two.
That's
I love
all that
it.
Counts, right?
This is it. We're gonna put all my money in the pot here on this. I got like $40 or $50 left on my DraftKings account. We're gonna make this an expensive team. You can go first this week.
I was gonna say I'm going first for the first time in a while.
Yeah, you get to go first.
Okay, I'm gonna go with my man, the big game hunter, Brooks Koepka.
I better just go this way. It's not like looking normally for names because their prices are all over the place.
All right, I'm gonna go Louis. 76.
I just talked about Louis. You're going to take him right away from me.
That's right.
Right off the bat.
All right. I'm going to go Sungjae Im also, 73.
Good play. I wasn't thinking of him, but you definitely put him on my radar this week.
And then
made some good points on Sungjae.
Super original. I'm going to go up to Rahm.
Of course. So you're taking basically all the chalk plays in our head-to-head matchup.
And then I'm going to go way down to, this is not a chalk play, Kevin Na.
Yeah. I do not have the same love as you as Na. Now you're at 8,300 here to wrap it up.
And then I'm going to go with my man, Scotty Scheffler, 6,800.
Let me write this down here.
15 hundo on the table.
Yeah. I was thinking about this last week. When we do our head-to-heads, we don't need to leave money on the table. It's not like we're going against 25, 30 people here. All right. So again, you picked, Brooks, Oost, Im, Rahm, Scotty, and Na.
Yep.
Now it's my turn. Let's see if we can get creative. We're going to start like just where I thought. Eric Van Ruin. I think it's a good cheap play. Gives me money to play with, and then we go right to Cam Smith. Again, my 2 favorite plays this week. That put me at 8,700. All right, then we'll go Viktor Hovland again. Another guy I think that's really tailor-made for this kind of a tournament in this week. All right. And then we're going to go Bryson because why wouldn't I? Go Bryson. Going to really
one more time for old time's sake. Yeah.
One final time since it's the last tournament of the year. Pick the guy that I love. Let's see. Where else am I going to go? I need some cheap plays now here. Actually, a guy I didn't talk about yet. Another guy that could score birdies. We'll go Jason Kokrak. I'm not sure if I love him this week, but in a head-to-head matchup, I'm going to take him. That leaves me with 8K. That leaves me with Brooks, Oos. So all the first 4 guys are all guys that you. Yeah. So, you know what? We're gonna mix this up. We're gonna take Kokrak off my lineup. We're going to put Hideki in there, and we're going to see what that leaves me with. 82. Does that give me anybody new? It does not give me anybody new. God damn it! All right, we're gonna backtrack here for a second.
Putting Kokrak back?
No, we're not. Well, I could just to figure this out. We're gonna put Kokrak back. We're gonna take Hideki out of here. This is live work right here. So we're gonna go below Kokrak here, and Hideki, and I'm gonna look down here, try to find nobody that's worth anything. Corey Connors. Okay, we'll take Corey Connors. That saved me 400. Does that give me somebody at 84? That leaves me with Colin Morikawa. We'll do that. Why not? Colin Morikawa is somebody that's not talked about. Colin Morikawa has played awful this year, obviously, in the last 2 to 3 events. He's been injured, but honestly, if you run any model, no matter what your 5 or 6 stat models are for this week, and you run it over the last 24 to 36 rounds, guess who's going to come out number 1? Colin Morikawa.
Good old Morikawa.
So,
wait, hold on. I lost track of your lineup here.
I changed it 6 times.
Corey Connors. Okay, I'm good. So you have $100 on the table, right?
Yeah, 100 on the table. Colin and Connors. All right. I think you're going to win this week. So yeah. All right. So again, both of us think John Rahm. If you got any questions, Adam, just check us. Let us know. If you're just checking in, we'll backtrack and answering your questions for this week. But John Rahm. No doubt about it. He's the winner this week, right?
I think so. Just the way he's playing, I just don't see somebody overtaking. I mean, I see him overtaking people, but I can't see Cantlay holding on, to be honest with you. And I just think the way he's been this whole year, he's going to be super motivated. So I
agree. I think he's
not that
motivated.
They're all not going to be motivated.
I think he's also motivated because he did come out and say that he doesn't like this format.
Right.
So I think he wants to prove that the format, he could beat the format because the format is set up for Patrick Cantlay to win.
Right.
He's the number 1 player. It's to give him the highest advantage. Dustin Johnson last year was able to do it. John Rahm wants to any good first-round leaders. I actually don't know what the first-round leader market looks like this week because of the fact with the staggered format that Patrick Cantlay's already in first place at 10 under. So I think I'm personally, Adam, I'm staying away from all bets except for an outright bet or two. I just think this is not the week to do it. After this week, there's a 2-week break, and then we get into the fall swing. We'll get back into making picks on that. We won't be doing the show. But I think this is a week to stay away from first-round leaders and top 10s and stuff like that.
You could bet Patrick Cantlay first-round leader for plus 100.
Wow. That's not worth it.
No, not at all.
It's not worth it at all. I'm going to say stay away from first-round leaders this week for sure. I think this is the first time me and you have been 110% on the same page on the outright winner, John Rahm.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's pivot here. We knew before we set this show up that we weren't going to be able to spend 30 minutes breaking down the field, because it's just different. So I wanted to close this show out, the first season of Fairway to Heaven. I want to look back. I want to get your biggest disappointment and biggest success or positive of golfers from the 2021 season. And then we're going to do the 2022 season outlook.
So you want me to do negative first?
Who's your biggest disappointment in 2021? And hopefully it's not the one name I wrote down.
I'm trying to think of who my biggest.
Do you want me to go first while you think about it?
You go first. Yeah, let me think.
Biggest disappointment to me was who was the number 1 golfer in the world, Dustin Johnson. Dustin Johnson coming into this season looked like an unstoppable golfer, in my opinion. I mean, he missed multiple cuts. He was outside the top 20. He didn't even contend in any majors this year. Dustin Johnson, to me, was somebody I thought that was just going to go on a run this year and dominate the tour, and he didn't. So he disappointed me a lot this year.
So I kind of thinking along the same lines. I feel like I have 2 kind of a little bit.
Okay.
Justin Thomas, really, I mean, for being an elite golfer, he was not that good. I say that, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. He was 9th coming into the FedEx Cup playoffs. So obviously he still had a good year, but he just didn't have that elite year. And he won the Players, which is great, obviously, but he didn't really get over the hump besides that. And then the second one for me, the second one, and his putting was so terrible this entire year. Second one for me is Rory. It's like he gets so much love. I love Rory. Like, he's one of my favorite golfers, definitely. But he gets so much love in the betting and DFS market. And it's like, how often does he pay off? I mean, he won when we were actually on our trip in Florida, but that was the only week that he, really, really like showed anything the entire year. So yeah, it's like he's kind of living off his past reputation a little bit. So yeah, he was a disappointment for me, and it's a guy that I want to see do well.
Rory's one that, and Justin Thomas to an extent, people start to talk about them in the same light as Jordan Spieth or Ricky Fowler on the fall off and all. Excuse me. I mean, it wasn't that big of a fall off for them. But yeah, I mean, I love Rory just like you. I have a Facebook memory that pops up every year on my feed. It was from his first, I think 2011 when he won his first PGA. But anyway, so the memory comes up all the time. It just says, I've never seen someone hit a 3-wood and stop it so easily on a green. And I just remember the play. It was like in the second or third round. He had 280 or something like that on a par 5 left. And he put a 3-wood. He hit it so high and just stopped it on a dime like it was a pitching wedge. And ever since then, I've always been a fan of Rory because the way he could shape shots into the track, he's unbelievable. But sometimes I just think I don't want to say he gets lazy. I think he just doesn't take it seriously all the time. And golf is not one of those sports like football or basketball where you can flip a switch and turn it on.
Yeah, I feel like Rory, too, more than any of the other elite players, he's a little bit of a head case. I mean, internally, he doesn't outwardly show it or anything, but I feel like he gets in his own head. I feel like he knows he can't putt, and that really gets in his head, especially when a short game struggles, is when he struggles. And when he putts at all, he comes out and wins. I mean, we saw him a couple years ago win a tournament by almost 10 shots, or it might have been 10 shots because he putts so well. It's crazy how he can, I don't know, kind of seems to like it's a mental thing with him, it seems like.
All right. So biggest positive from 2021.
For me, it's speed.
Yeah,
for me, it's Jordan Spieth.
I figured like you were going to go there. That's why I pivoted and got a different answer. Go. I know you love your Jordan Spieth.
I do love him, but I feel like it's just good for golf. I feel like when he's good, and he was so bad for the past year and a half, 2 years, and I feel like him being back. I mean, he had one of the best seasons too. If you think from the start of January until now, I mean, he's really had one of the best seasons of anybody as well. So he's kind of slumping a little bit right now, right at the end, right at the worst time to slump, but he's been really good. Who's yours?
All right, so I don't have one. I just have a phrase, and then there's multiple names under the phrase, and I'm just going to call it the old timers. Stuart Sink, multiple wins. Lee Westwood contending and going toe-to-toe with Bryson multiple weeks on Sunday. Twice on Sundays.
Yep.
Louis Oosthuizen, revival on a lower level. Charles Schwartzel, semi-little revival. The old timers, the 35 and older, which I don't know why. Phil Mickelson, absolutely. Yeah. I don't know why I consider 35 old, but in golf terms, 35 is older because, the young guys and the power guys always win events and are always the top guys. But seeing Stuart Sink win multiple times, have his son on the bag, Lee Westwood out there with his fiance, then turned wife, and contending again. I can't believe that guy never won a major. Phil winning a major at 50-plus years old. Louis Oosthuizen.
Tony Finau winning a tournament.
Yeah, but he's not in the old crowd.
I know.
I can never love Tony Finau. I just can't. I can't even use the phrase anymore. It's been retired. So I can't even say it. But I say my biggest positive from this year was the old-timers revival. Showed that old-timers, to an extent old-timers, can still win. I mean, Stuart Sink winning multiple times and contending other weeks. I mean, he's in, 23rd place this week, starting at 1 under. It's not great, but it's not like he's done great in the last 3 months of the year. He just had such a great first half of the season that there was no way he was going to fall out of it. Right. Even Harris English, he's up there in the mid-30s there too. I think the old-timers really shined a lot this year, and I love to see it.
It's a good one. I like it.
All right, 2022. This is the end of season 1 of Fairway to Heaven. We'll be back in January of season 2. Who are we? I know, tears. My heart's breaking. I don't know what I'm going to do on Tuesday nights. So I don't know how to phrase it. There's lots of questions here. Who's going to be the breakout star? Who is any first-time major winner? Do you have any predictions for the majors next year? Like 2-3 minutes. What are you looking forward to in 2022?
I'm calling it right now. Xander Schauffele wins the Masters. I feel like he's due for a major. He contends all the time in majors. So I like him. I like to see what he's going to do next year. I'm probably most excited for the young guys, though. I just feel like the crop of young players right now, with Morikawa being as good as he is and Hovland being as good as he is, and Wolf is kind of falling off a little bit, but there's just so much young talent in the game right now. Even Sam Burns, it's like the way he's played this year, and it's just golf is in good hands. I feel like it's always in good hands because there's always the next generation, but I feel like there's so much talent coming in right now, and you still have the they're not even old yet, but like, Justin Thomas and Spieth and those guys that are getting up in their higher 20s. And then you look down a few years and you see these guys with so much talent at the bottom end. And I could see Sam Burns as kind of being, I know he's not really a breakout because he was good this year, but I could see him being a guy that gets 2-3 wins next year for sure.
Yeah. So I already hinted at it. I think EVR, what I've seen in the last 3 events from EVR has switched me to I'm on your side with EVR now. I think he's going to contend a lot. He'll probably win maybe an event. He'll have a bunch of top 10s next year, being able to pick and choose when he plays. I think the last 3 weeks, was it 2 weeks ago, when he was contending and he put 2 balls on the same hole late on that round in the water. That could have made a young guy just completely collapse. Then he came back and contended again last week. I just love the moxie that kid. He's not a kid. He's 31. You said. I still can't believe it. But I can see that. I'm gonna go completely against you. I see no first-time major winners next year because the major winners that are on tour are still young enough and good enough. Colin Morikawa could win a major. Bryson DeChambeau is going to win all 4 majors. Brooks Koepka. Let's see how long that you do not hold me. That is not a prediction. Brooks Koepka wins not Brooks Koepka. Bryson wins all 4 majors. Brooks Koepka, is could win another major. Jordan Spieth is just getting back in form. He'll probably win another major. John Rahm, if anybody could win all 4 majors in a year, John Rahm is the guy that could do it. We've never really had a Grand Slam champion. We had the Tiger Slam. We haven't had a real Grand Slam champion in ages. John Rahm's talented enough, and John Rahm is actually, if you think about it, a year and a half ago, people were saying John Rahm is a hothead. John Rahm's never going to really take it to the next level. Yeah, he chokes under pressure. I think John Rahm silenced that this year, has he not?
No, he's an assassin. I feel like
John Rahm. I could easily see him winning 3 or 4 events, 2 majors next year.
There's not the thing about him too that's so impressive. He's a big dude, but there's not like he obviously bombs it off the tee, but there's just not really a hole in his game. He's a standout performer at everything, pretty much like that. And we talk about guys like Morikawa who has trouble putting, Justin Thomas who has trouble putting, Spieth who has issues off the tee sometimes. It's like you can't really find a weakness in Rahm's game. So like you said, he's obviously probably going to be the favorite for just about every major next year, if not all of them.
I wonder what the odds are, and I'm going to look this up sometime this week, and I'll put it out there. Because FanDuel didn't let you parlay multiple majors, and I know DraftKings does. I wonder what the odds are if you bet John Rahm to win all 4 majors. I would love to take a stab, just throw $1 at that and see what the odds.
Seriously.
It's got to be insane, for that to happen and all. If a first-time major winner happens, it's not going to be Xander. It's going to be Tony Finau. I know that's going to shock you, me saying that, but him finally getting over the hump and winning, an event. I mean, I think that gives him an edge. A lot of people thought he was going to win the Masters this year. Obviously, it didn't happen. I think he can win a Masters, a PGA Championship, something like that. But again, like I said, Rory's still a contending golfer. Justin Thomas, these are the guys that are going to win the majors. I know there's a lot of good young golfers on tour, but I don't think any of them are good enough to compete with the elite of the elite to win a major yet.
Okay, that's fair.
And who knows? Maybe Tiger will be back next year. We've done our first whole season of this show, and Tiger didn't play once. Tiger's going to, if he can walk, if he can swing a golf club and walk 18 holes, which let me tell you, it ain't easy coming back from an injury like that. If he can, you always will have that Tiger factor next year as well. And he's always the most motivated guy to prove the doubters wrong.
Yeah, Phil won a major. Tiger can win a tournament for sure.
Absolutely. So. He was just coming into form in 2019, 2020, before he got injured there, So, anyway, first season of Fairway to Heaven. Damn.
In the books.
Everybody tuning in. I don't even know when the first event is. The Tournament of Champions around like the 10th of January. The week after that, we'll be back. Maybe we'll do a preview show, sometime in January. But, man, this is an amazing first year. And Jason, we'll be back Thursday next. Well, you'll be joining me on Trending for 4 Quarters tomorrow night because we're going to do a fantasy football show. But we're going to be debuting our brand new fantasy football DFS show next week on Thursday, 9 p.m. right here on DSM Media. Would you like to drop the new name?
DFS, no punt intended.
It's going to be a blitz
it's a play
of
on
a show.
words.
It's going to be a DFS blitz of a show. I'm such an asshole. I know. Oh. I know I am. I can't help myself. It just comes out of me instantly. But again, thank you all so much for all the people tuning in. All the people. I know you're getting a text message right now as I speak and all. Probably. That's ringing. Thank you all so much to the viewers, the people that have supported us. We didn't have as great of a second half of the season as we did the first half. We had quite a few great weeks in the beginning half of the season. Our heads got too big. We made some mistakes in the second half, or at least I did. But it's been the viewers, the comments, the followers, all the great guests, from Jonathan Coachman to Hunter to PGA Tout to Chad to Brian. Brian's bigger than us now. I mean, Brian's like blown up into being the biggest fantasy golf guy on podcast on Twitter there is. He was a little nobody with 20 followers when we had him on, early in the season. We gave him that success. So again, thank you all so much. Jason, any parting words before we wrap this final show of the first season up?
I just want to touch on the same thing you said about the guests. I feel like the guests that we had on this season were so good, and they've kind of become our friends, which is really cool. And this industry in general is just really cool. And everybody wants to give everybody else advice, and they want to help each other's process and everything like that. But some of our best shows were because of the guests this year. So I really, Rob and like you said, Brian and Hunter and all those guys that came on the show, I really appreciate. Yeah, really, really appreciate it.
So I know Brian has gotten a lot of those guys together. They've played golf before. I'm going to have to start a group chat with everybody. I used to be part of a group of guys that did a golf trip every year, just guys, golf. I think we need to plan a fantasy golf trip where 8, 10, 12 of all the podcasters, we all get together and go guys weekend or guys 3 days, go golfing, drinking. We all do podcasts together. I think that's an idea that just pops in my head. If our wives will allow it.
Hey, the big names do that. So us smaller people, we can do that too.
I think
DFS Open Part 2.
DFS. Yeah, I think I got an idea here. We're gonna have to put this together and plan this. So hopefully Rob or Brian, someone's listening that's better at planning than I am and can set this all up.
And better at golf.
Yeah, well, I'm better at golf. Yeah, that's obvious right there. They better be spotting me quite a few strokes if we're doing this and if we're laying any skins on the line here. Again, stay tuned on DSM Media. Big things happening. Again, like Jason said, DFS, no pun intended, next Thursday, 9 p.m., debut over DFS Fantasy Golf Show or Fantasy Football Show right here. And stay tuned. I'll be live at 10 p.m. I'm going to do a pop-up episode of Trending for Four Quarters, talking about the Eagles' 53-man roster. And tomorrow night, I got some great guests. Jason, Luke Sawhook, Mr. Swagman himself, Sam Wagman, join the show. We're going to do a big fantasy football preview show for the 2021 season. So, everybody stay tuned on DSM Media to the moon. Subscribe, like, follow, do it all. You know the thing. Big things coming. We'll see you season 2 in January.